Okay, my name is Wes Hardiker. I work for NAI Labs, and we've just started a contract under DARPA to design a testbed for evaluating DDoS-related technologies. And explicitly, what this means is we want to build a test environment that really will emulate the real world. And as I go through my talk, we'll describe why we think it's needed. Quick overview, I'll talk about today's world, how the internet at large looks today, and how the research world and the startup DDoS technologies world looks today. I'll talk about our study, our goals, why it exists, and what problems we hope to solve with it, what its goals are. I'll talk about how we're actually going about designing this network. Specifically, we're collecting information from an awful lot of people and an awful lot of expertise areas. And really, this introduction, I really want to use as an introduction to the boss that we're holding tonight. The details I'm going to go over today are very light in nature. They're not the in-depth technical details. We won't have network diagrams in this 15-minute presentation, but we will tonight. So if you're interested in what I'm talking about today, please come to the boss and stand at the microphone, drink a few beers first so you are more willing to get up in front of a microphone and fight with each other. That would be great. And finally, I'll entertain any questions at the end of this. Oh, that's hard to see, isn't it? This is today's internet. Actually, this is not. This is a picture produced in 1999 by Bell Labs. And they attempted to map the internet into colors that are hard to see on a big screen. And obviously, in the last few years, it's gotten even more complex. And this map is taken at a very high level so that it's much more complex even then than the map is sort of representational of. The problem is that in today's DDoS attacks, you are a very, very, very small point on that map. And specifically, that map is not to scale. You would be a much smaller dot than that. And when you're getting attacked by DDoS environments, you feel like you're getting attacked by the entire internet. Well, because you are. Essentially, the entire internet is out to get you, and it does not feel good if anybody's been on the recipient end of a DDoS attack. And what makes it almost impossible to deal with is that the network in between you and them is extremely complex in nature. This is what makes DDoS research and DDoS technologies being produced by vendors very, very difficult to come by. We don't have a great solution yet because no one's found one yet. Unfortunately, if you look at most research organizations and you look at most vendors that are supplying DDoS-related technologies, they have very, very, very small networks in order to test things on. And it turns out that the operators of the world really don't like running DDoS tests over the real networks anywhere. They tend to frown upon that, especially when you tell them you need to leave it running for a week to really test your tool. So they build smaller networks, usually composed of a few number of hosts that are doing the attacking, connected to a small network in between, usually consisting of a single box or a couple of boxes. And you, being the target, is a single host or sometimes a small number of hosts. And obviously the scale of what actually happens in the research or the vendor world does vary. Very large corporations have more money to spend on it. And that's really where the discrepancy comes in. In the real world, nobody is going to be able to reproduce the internet to run tests on. It's just not going to happen, nor is anybody going to let you run tests on the real internet. So the only option is to create small test labs. And the problem is that in order to build something that really proves that your new tool is scalable, you'd have to spend an inordinate amount of money. And no one organization has that much funds to just throw at their test network. And I've talked to some people with some fairly large ones, and there are some adequate ones out there, but they're usually in proprietary locations that not the general public can make use of. So this is where we come into play. We want to be somewhere in the middle. We're not going to reproduce the internet, but we hope to beat every test lab that's out there. One point I ought to make is that a lot of the test labs that are out there were designed for a different purpose too. So we're designing our test lab to specifically help DDoS-related research and new technologies being developed by vendors. A lot of the other test labs that are out there are built to test routing and to test other types of problems in the network world. So we hope to get farther up the tree. And explicitly, we want multiple research organizations and multiple vendors to make use of this facility. So really briefly, the purpose of our study is to identify requirements that are needed in order to build this specialized facility for testing advanced DDoS technologies. What are the minimal requirements it needs to build this, and such that if vendors were to come in and test their products, that we could give it, they could advertise that in their pamphlets, and people would believe that they really did test to see if it would scale to the levels that they want to deploy it at. So the design specifications, and then again, I'm going to go over these in much more detail tonight. So come to the BOF if you want to see the details and find holes in it. That would be great. But we have possible network topologies. So what does it take in order to emulate the real world such that we can build a very large network infrastructure that can be used for testing that will properly emulate the real world. Equipment needs and costs, obviously those two are kind of tied together. What equipment does it take to make up that topology? We want to talk about connectivity to the real internet, and obviously this is a hard issue to deal with. You don't want to deploy another huge network of attack hosts and connect it directly to the internet. There's got to be some level of security between what we're going to build and the real internet. But at the same time, we'll certainly want to make use of what the internet has to offer. If we want to transfer live capture dumps into it, that should be possible. Staffing and administration is sort of one of our other sub-goals. So some of the other goals are not just to define the topology, but how is it going to be used? Obviously, you can't define the topology without actually deciding how to make use of it. How do the participants that are going to come into the facility and make use of it going to do so? And so you have to decide how you're going to generate attack traffic. Obviously, you can use real DDoS tools. You can use traffic generation tools. There are some companies that provide things that generate packets that can do so at a faster rate than most computers. And you can do capture and replay of real traffic. So you can take traffic off the internet, bring it in, and hopefully replay it and see if your DDoS tool actually lived up to a real-world attack. Those are actually very hard problems to solve, especially the last one, capture and replay of real traffic. It's not a trivial problem. Defense methodologies, obviously, different types of DDoS-related defense technologies operate in different ways because they are placed at different points in the network. So we need to think about all of the places where physical attachment might occur. It might be near the target, it might be near the sources, it might be in the ISP layers in between. Some of them will run directly onto end hosts. So the software hosting requirements need to be divided up as well. Do people need to be able to attach to Cisco boxes? Do they need to be able to attach to specific types of operating systems running on PC type of platforms? Those types of problems. We expect the number of end users to be very large. Obviously, government organizations, if this is initially put in place by the government, we hope the government organizations like DARPA and their advanced research technologies will be able to make heavy use of this. But research organizations like universities and other global collaboration kind of facilities should be able to make use of it. Vendors obviously should be able to test their products and maybe even do bake-offs with other vendors in order to see who did the best, which ones really work and which ones scale to this large level. Large ISPs may want to make use of it in order to test technologies that they're planning on deploying. Large ISPs generally don't want to just take a box off the shelf, plug in and hope it doesn't disrupt their own network. Potential target sites might even want to make use of it if they're going to deploy something. So this is at the end host as opposed to the ISP, which is in the middle. Same sort of situation. They want to test new technologies. And everybody in this room might want to end up making use of this network. And it's our hope that, and we cannot say definitively that DARPA is going to go this direction, but it is our hope that everybody should be able to make use of the network that we're going to end up designing and hopefully somebody will build. So we need help from, well, the list looks pretty much the same because we need to talk to all those people. If anybody knows of somebody that's an expert in all fields of DDoS, which includes large, tier 1 kind of environments down to the target, at university levels, if anybody is actually an expert in all those fields, I'd be really surprised. Please stand up and let me know. We definitely need to talk to you. So since none of us are, we obviously have to go seek out. We have a lot of in-house expertise, but we really need to go seek out everybody that has been affected by DDoS attacks at some point in their lives, whether it's because they're producing products or whether it's because they've been attacked themselves or they're somewhere in the middle. So government organizations, research organizations, vendors, large ISPs, and target sites are all the exact same sort of people. The people that are going to make use of it need to be able to prove that this is going to be useful to you. So specifically, we need your help. The boss tonight will go over the requirements that we have so far, the solution sets that we have so far, the topologies and the ideas that we have. And we'd really like to solicit feedback from you. We'd like you to say, have you thought about this? And we'll go, yes, right? Or you'll say, have you thought about this? And we'll go, no, and we'll take notes and we'll make sure that we do so. Any questions on, I'm not going to go into technical details here. That'll be for the boss tonight. Does anybody have any larger overhead kind of questions about the study itself that they want to ask? Can't tell if you're walking to the microphone or not. Not, okay. So if you want to contact us, I'd be greatly appreciated if you do. There's an email address on the screen. My name is, again, Wes Hardiker. Ron Ostrenga is here. Ron, could you stand up and spin or something so people can see you and see your face and what you look like? Come grab one of our business cards. If you can't talk to us, in the next few days, if you can, great, stop us. We'll get together with you at some point and try to solicit your feedback. Most importantly, if you can come to the boss tonight, we'd greatly appreciate it. Thanks very much.